30 minutes we were superb. I thought that was probably the best 30 minutes that we've had perhaps this season. I thought we were slick, our movement was great, we were creating chances. I thought we really dominated the game, and then we kind of went to sleep a little bit for a spell, and then that came over it into the second half a bit, where we kind of went off the pace a little bit, and then came back again, obviously, in the second half and picked up again near the end. But we need to be probably a little bit better when we're not going through those spells and we're playing really well. I think when we're playing really well, we play some fantastic football. When we're going through lulls, we need to defend better. So when the game gets a bit fractured or a little bit ugly, for want of a better word, or we're out of rhythm, I think we need to be able to knuckle down just a little bit better so we don't concede during those periods.
If you have a question, please raise your hand. Mike Ramajo.
Coach, obviously we didn't see Alex Morgan continue her scoring streak, but we saw Chi with 2 assists and a goal today. What are your thoughts on her?
Well, it's kind of been summed up our team for this season. We've had everybody contribute. You know, Rachel 2 goals tonight, Chi a goal. And Alex on another night could probably had 3 or 4. She was desperately unlucky a few times. So, you know, it's one of the great attributes our team has, is that the firepower we have is scary. And when they're on song and playing well, it's difficult for teams to defend against us. With Chi, what I think Chi for me is very much a confidence player. And, you know, since she's come here and obviously had the opportunities that she's had and playing with the players that we've got, I think her confidence has continued to grow and grow. And with that, I think you've seen the growth in her game from being a player that was, if you like, in and out at times and had potential, to somebody that's really producing week in and week out.
Melissa?
Coach, kind of to your point, kind of speak to the overall performance of the offense tonight. I mean, 12 goals attempted, obviously 4 out of those 12. That was some aggressive playing tonight. Kind of speak to that.
Yeah, well, that's how we are. That's how we play. I mean, we're a team, as you can see, we're a team that goes out to win games, to keep playing the type of football that we want to play, regardless of the score. And when you've got Alex Morgan and Marta leading the charge up front with our other players, you're not going to be a defensive team. So it's great that, you know, one of the hardest things to do in our game is score goals. And at the moment, we've got a team that is, you know, pretty free-flowing, both in scoring goals, but also in creating really good chances.
Austin?
Tom, you talked a little bit about the lull that your team came through in the middle of the game. With the games remaining, how do you keep the complacency from creeping in and keep your team focused for the remaining part of the season?
It's a good question. I mean, it's just stuff that we need to reinforce on the training field, what we need to do, whether it's defensive shape or getting behind the ball or how we defend one-on-one. There's a whole variety of things that I felt we needed to do a little bit better. Showing video obviously helps, so it's putting all those things together so that when we go out, and the other thing is through picking up those cues on the field, so that, for example, after about 30 minutes tonight, they actually pushed on and pressed us really high, and we never quite adjusted to that, so it's been able to see and read those cues a little bit earlier so we don't get caught. So it's a whole range of all those factors.
Victor?
Coach, just talk about, obviously Rachel Hill had that early first half brace, and just, was that something that you might have seen in training early on during this week from her?
She's not necessarily this week, but she's always looked dangerous. And Lloyd, our goalkeeper coach, called it. He said he fancied her to score at least 1 tonight, so he's going away there claiming all the credit for that, as goalkeeper coaches do. But she's always looked dangerous, and I think, again, it was symptomatic of that first 30 minutes. So the fact that the goals that she scored was the play building up to the goals, I thought was fantastic as well. But she's always, you know, she's full of energy. She keeps making runs in the box. She keeps getting on the end of things, and she's a real handful to play against. So, you know, again, it's all those factors. It's nothing particular. We didn't do anything particularly different in training this week that suddenly allowed her to come out and score 2 goals. I
Scott?
can't remember what we did in training. It's a week ago, Victor. I can't remember what we did 10 minutes ago.
Coach, you talked about how you're an attacking team, and I think now the Pride actually have the most goals in the whole league scored. But the 2 goals given up is rare for the Pride. Is that a little worrisome that you give up 2 goals?
Yeah, it is. It's worrisome because, you know, we're coming up against a team vying for the top 4 next week, and then we come up against 2 teams in the top 4. And if we make fundamental errors at the back, we'll get punished. And I just think what we did was and we talked about it at half-time because we saw some of the signs in the first half. And again, it's just down, there's a couple of things, collective things, individual things. I thought individually, 1 against 1, we made life too easy for them. I think collectively we never got ourselves organised as well as we could have. And you combine those factors, you give away goals. So again, I mean, that's what football's like. You know, one week you go out and you do this and you think, well, we've cracked it here. And then next week you go out and you do some of those things poorly. But it's probably a good wake-up call for us. You know, if we come through that game tonight 4-0, we're maybe walking away saying, you know, everything's going smoothly. So it's actually quite good to get a little bit of checks and balances and to actually get punished for some of the things that we didn't do well enough.
Any additional questions? Michelle?
Hi, Tom.
Welcome back, Michelle.
Oh, thank you. How much, if at all, has the fact that the NWSL Championship, that it's going to be in Orlando, has it at all kind of crept into the conversation in the locker room? Not
really crept in that much in the locker room. It's kept in from outside the locker room. I'll have the question. You know, it's obviously been asked and things, but, you know, within the locker room, you know, we always had ambitions to get into the top 4. That was our aim. If you're in the top 4, you want to get to the final game. Obviously, I would be stupid to say playing it here doesn't impact anything because that impacts all around. So in some ways it does seep in to the team environment. But the key thing for us is just to first and foremost make sure we get in the 4 and then worry about what happens after that.
We'll go to the back for Shane.
It's that time of year baseball starts talking about magic numbers. Is there a magic number in soccer?
Yeah, one more than the opposition. You mean in getting in the top 4? I think, you know, it depends on the results this weekend. If we get a favourable result this weekend with Seattle and or Sky Blue, and we win next weekend, I think we're going to be pretty close. Probably not mathematically, but I think we'll be pretty close in. So, you know, we looked at that little stretch of games in August. Those home games is really critical to start a push. We've done that really well. And then we've looked at the last 3 games, Kansas away, this game and the other home game against Seattle has been this other now little crucial run of games. So if we get that result next week, I think it puts us in a really good spot.
And we'll take one more question from Victor.
Coach, all season long you've been talking about how the team, in terms of where the team needed to improve, was finishing the chances, and obviously now the team is scoring a lot, being at the top of the league in goals scored. From your perspective now, with 3 games to go before the regular season ends, where does the team, I guess, need to improve the most now?
Again, it's just making sure that during those down times in the games, which you're going to have, any team has them, that we're just a little bit more defensively disciplined. And when I say defensively disciplined, I don't mean our defence, I mean our whole team. Just has to be a little bit more switched on defensively so that during those periods or those down periods, we don't give anything dumb away. And also during those periods, when we then have possession, that our decision making becomes good or better, so that again we don't get into that, you know, possession going to and fro all the time.
Thank you, Coach.